Good evening, Penny Pitcher Farms. Happy August. Our first video in the month of August. It is officially, if you ask Mountain View Farms, it is officially winter stockpile season. And that is exactly what we're going to try to do. This is what we're moving the cows off of today. They've been on this 5 or so days. So we're going to move them. Dad's up here, he's got the paddock. We got the paddock laid out and he's letting the gap down and letting the cows in. Look at that little calf, that right there. That calf is, I guess, probably 2 weeks old now. That's her mommy. That's the smallest calf I believe I've ever seen in my life. I mean, little. That sucker's 2 weeks old. It ain't big enough for nothing. That's all right though. We ain't gonna complain. I'd rather have a small calf that's alive and breathing as opposed to a 100-pound calf that's dead and not breathing. Worth a whole lot more money, ain't that right, Junior?
That's right.
Look what these babies is going into, guys. Our original plan was starting in August. We was completely going to shut off this half of the farm and try something new. We was going to try winter stockpiling heavy duty. But me and Dad made just a pass through this whole backside of the farm. And it is, since we've got our rains the last couple of weeks, it is cranking. And the half of the farm that we're leaving, it just didn't look to suit us. It wasn't growing back quick enough to suit us, wasn't high enough to suit us. So it's going to need a few more weeks of recovery before it sees cows again. So we decided to run our cows back through this half of the farm one more pass, just to buy some time on the other half of the farm, the side that we're going to try to get through the biggest part of fall solely on. We're essentially going to turn our 60-acre farm into 30 acres for as long as we possibly can through the fall. I mean, guys, September is just a few good naps away, guys. I mean, winter times are coming. You may not believe it if you're having to work outside today. It is warm here in eastern Kentucky. Look there. That's a pretty sight. That cow looked back and she had a big clump of grass in her mouth. I love it. Ain't nothing better in a grazer's eye than a big black Angus with a mouthful of grass. I don't know, I'm getting pretty partial to these colored cattle. Those yellow and white, red. Man, the market don't seem to like them as good. But man, I tell you what, they thrive in this kind of management system. The heat don't bother them, the flies don't bother them. They just flat out work. But essentially what I was saying, we're going to try to turn our 60-acre farm into a 30-acre farm for as long as we can through the fall, and let this big back half of the farm rest and grow just as much as it possibly can. And this is what we're going to try. This will be our winter feeding side. We're going to try to let it grow just as much as it possibly can all fall long. Once we get the cows off of it, this pass will probably take, we've sold some cattle. We've kind of got our cow herd down a little bit. I think we just got 11 mama cows, I think. 2 of those will be heifers like the yellow one there. Look at what we're walking through, guys. It is nice. If I can ever catch them up here, I'll stop and quit walking. But what our thinking is, once we pass through this side of the farm this time, and it'll take till about September to get through all this. We've got the holler right here, and the fence is on the hillside there, so they probably got 4-5 acres to be generous down in this holler to graze. And we've got them on this top flat right here. There's our line, and it stops right there just over the hill. So they've got that probably 3 or 4 acres, here, and probably 5 back behind us over the hill that they can graze, which is too much, but we're just going to try it. I'm not able to get to the farm every day right now, babysitting 101. So we're making our moves longer, not intentionally, just because that's how life's treating us. And that's the great part about grazing. You could accommodate to your schedule. Grazing in some form or fashion is better than not grazing at all, right? So we're going to give them a little bit bigger paddock and probably give them a week's worth on each paddock, and they can go down over the hill right here and get to the pond and drink. Limited access straight over there to the trees as they can get to the corner of the pond. But it's probably going to take us to get through this side of the farm probably till the first of September anyway, which is fine, which means it gives the front half of the farm, the first 30 acres we'll call it, it gives it a full month of August of good heat, rain, hopefully, if the good Lord allows, and I believe he is. They're giving rain the next 10 days. A full month of good rest, recovery, and rain on those 30 acres. And after we get through this back half of the farm, we're going to do kind of like a flash graze, I guess you could say. We're just going to put them through this back 30 acres just one time. We're just going to work them through, split it up into 4 or 5 paddocks, 4 or 5 days at a time in each paddock. And that'll get us pretty well into September. And from then until we can, we're going to leave the cattle on the back or the front half, the first 30 acres of the farm, and go just as far into the winter as we possibly can, which will give this 30 acres pretty well all fall, September, October, November, and hopefully up into December. We're hoping we'll have that much grass on the first 30 acres before we have to move our cows back here on this side to start grazing. And that's what our intentions are, guys. When winter gets here and the snow starts flying in December and January, we're not going to be pulling the feed troughs out and feeding corn. And our plan is not to be feeding much hay, because we're going to have stockpile grass to feed them. And when the winter gets here, we're not going to be giving these 4 and 5 day paddocks. We're going to put the paddock sizes down smaller. That way we can actually control the grass and how much they get and how much they eat every single day, which will in return prolong our stockpile. So that's kind of the plan, guys. The original plan was to not let the cows on this 30 acres of the farm until we had to, but it was growing good and just looking really good, and the first 30 acres needed some time to rest just because of the dry weather. It ain't growing back like it normally would. So we're going to do it's probably be a month long, but we're still going to call it a flash graze because I'm going to say by the end of September, grass is still going to be growing. It's still going to have warm weather, plenty of rain, hopefully, in the forecast. So hopefully we're going to stand right here in this exact spot in September and shoot you a video. And hopefully there'll be more grass then than they are now. That's the hope, that's the intentions. If we get rain, some good weather like we should historically, we should be growing a lot of forage between now and September. But just look over through there, guys. It was so good. Me and Dad just decided to do one more pass over this side of the farm and give the other half that much more time to rest and recover. And then we're going to try to cut the farm in half and get the cows through the biggest part of the fall, or through the entire fall, and the biggest part of the winter on just 30 acres. And we'll have this back 30 acres for winter stockpile that's not been touched in hopefully 2 or 3 months. So we're hoping that through that management practice, we're going to have a bunch of winter stockpile, a bunch of grass. And it's already here, guys. It's growing good.
I've discovered some competition.
Uh-oh, what kind of competition?
Got a bunch of deer beds out here.
Oh, really?
We got deer herd using.
Hey, Dad says that, but let me tell you, by rotational grazing, you'll not only improve your cow herd, you will improve wildlife in general. I mean, it's very seldom we come out here and you don't see deer, you don't see turkey, you don't see foxes. You'll see something just about every time you come out here, because what are they eating, guys? They're eating that right there. You tell me a deer can't grow a rack on its head on that right there to eat. He go in the woods and get him a few acorns and come right back and eat this clover. I mean, you talk about putting nutrition in the rack of a deer, that right there will do it. So guys, this helps everything, guys. Rotational grazing is good for everything. It's good for your cattle. It's great for your farm, for your soul. It's good for your pocketbook too, guys. That's why Penny Pincher Farm does it. Guys, we've rambled on. We urge you to have some kind of management practice in place on your farm. Don't just turn your cows out and wish them well. Have some kind of management practice in place, guys. Everything is pointing toward sky high cattle prices next year. Everybody down south is having to sell because of the drought, and they're putting a bunch of females in the feedlots right now, which means there's not going to be very many cows this time next year because all their females are getting eat. So, in redneck terms, the man that's got the cows is going to be the man that's got the money this time next year, guys. He can name his price for them. So if you can manage your grass and not have to spend a fortune on your cow herd this winter, or even have to sell some off to pay the bills, guys, this time next year, you're going to get rewarded for it. When you can sell a cow for $1,500 a head, that's old, that's put in her time and work on your farm, and you're ready to send her down the road, if you can get $1,500 for that coal cow, hey guys, you can make it. You can make it. This is Penny Pincher Farm. Glad you guys have joined in along with us, picking up a few more subscribers. Thank you guys for that. We hope you learned something from us. This is Penny Pincher Farm, letting the grass grow and giving God the glory. Junior says,
Good day.